Hi, this is Jeff Curto, and welcome to episode number 119 of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography. Well, this might be a bit of a heretical statement to make here on Camera Position, where I've spent so much time talking about project-based photography, investing yourself in a long-term or even a short-term project, because I want to talk about the power of the single photograph. The power of the single photograph, a photograph that has no bearing on any other images that you might make in your body of work, a picture that just begs to be made as you walk past the scene with your camera, a picture that you have in your head that you decide you want to make, regardless of whether or not it has anything to do with any other part of your photographic body of work. And I say this for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that I have made a fair number of photographs over the last few months that are not related to one another, even in the least, and are certainly not related to the main topic of my photographic output. They are, in my opinion, really beautiful images in and of themselves, and sort of survive all by themselves in many ways, just as really interesting, beautiful, fulfilling photographs. And the question comes up, what do you do with them? What do you do with those pictures? And how do you approach the prospect of what those photographs mean and why you made them in the first place? And I thought I'd sort of see if I could sort this out for myself and maybe sort it out for some of you who may have confronted this same problem, finding a subject somewhere in the world that you're really intrigued by, but that doesn't have any particular bearing on any other photographs, and you can make one or maybe two, but gosh, it's not really a full-fledged kind of project-based idea. Now, I have to admit that I would love to lay claim to this idea of examining the concept of the single photograph, but I can't. I can't lay claim to it because it is something that I've been thinking about, not only because I've been making them, but also because I am a frequent visitor to Jörg Colberg's great blog, Conscientious. I hope many of you are visiting conscientious.com as well, just because it is such a thoughtful and wonderful piece of work about photography and a terrific resource for our community. But on that blog, Colberg did post a terrific piece called The Single Photograph, and he said, "Ask any photographer what they're working on, and they're sure to tell you about their project. It's almost as if these days photographers don't take pictures any longer, they take projects." And a little bit later on in his blog post, he said, "I started thinking about single photographs as opposed to photo projects when I was walking around with my Fuji Instax camera while teaching photography earlier this month. There I was, talking mostly about projects, even asking photographers what kind of project they'd like to work on, and at the same time I was looking for photographs that had nothing to do with a project. How did that compute?" And in fact, that's kind of why I started this thinking about this particular topic for a podcast, because here I have been over these last many months, years, talking about project-based photography, and yet I was enjoying myself immensely making individual pictures that didn't relate necessarily to one another. So one last little bit from Colberg on his blog post. Even if this hasn't convinced you, this is toward the end of the post, if you are a photographer who only produces single photographs that have nothing to do with each other, isolated little beauties, why wouldn't you have a place in this world? Why or how would what the rest of the world does affect you? I have a funny feeling that the answer might come across the lines of, I will not be accepted because I am supposed to do projects, which is simply not true. And then he says at the very end, he said, if you're a single photo photographer, it might be time to stop fighting the project windmill. So, that was inspirational for me, and kind of gratifying to know that I was thinking about some of the same things that somebody else was thinking about, trying to figure out how it is that these individual images that I enjoy making, that I enjoy looking at, that I enjoy sharing with others, seem to have a life of their own outside of the bodies of work that I make. But then I also began to realize one other piece, and one that Colberg doesn't really address in his blog post, and that is that a project can oftentimes come out of these single photographs. The single photograph might be arresting enough to you, interesting enough to you in terms of the subject and the potential of that subject for you to go back to that spot, whether it's a place that you found that you want to make those photographs or an idea that you have of things that you want to pursue in photography. It could even be a still life project where you see something just beautiful sitting in your kitchen in a particular light of the particular day that you're standing in, and you make that picture, and by golly, you want to go ahead and try and make another picture that's similar to it, and another one, and before long, you might actually have a project. So maybe I'm part of the cabal that Colberg talks about in his blog post, people who are trying to help photographers see things as a project, and maybe it's just my background as somebody who likes to work in a project-based idea, and certainly instructionally in photography, that's a very helpful thing for my students to look at things as a project and to begin to explore the various ideas that can come around when you really kind of pursue something in some greater depth. So what I've discovered is that some of these pictures that I've made, these individual little beauties, as Colberg says, may have some basis in idea for a project, and I can begin to flesh those ideas out over time. So go grab those individual photographs that you have, those ones that you just love looking at, that don't bear any resemblance to anything else you've ever done, and make a beautiful print, put them up on the wall, and take a look at them, and not only enjoy them for what they are, but enjoy them for what they might bring to you beyond that single photograph. One last bit here, I have to say that I was very gratified to have my summer of 2013 Italy photography workshop sell out just within a few days, really, and really looking forward to working with a new group of students in Tuscany and also in the southern province of Puglia this coming summer. If you are interested in learning more about the workshops I'll be planning for the summer of 2014 and beyond, please drop me a note at jeff@jeffcurto.com, and I'll put you on the advanced list so that you can get information before it goes up on the internet. And in fact, that seems to be where most of the people who I will be traveling to Italy with this coming summer found out about the workshops. Well, thanks for joining me on this episode of Camera Position, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the podcast about the creative side of photography.